What is the most severe case of someone being completely out of touch with reality you've ever seen? The pastor of a small-town church insisted that members set up the parish hall and provide food and beverages for 125 people after every Sunday service. Even though the average attendance was only around 20 people, week after week, month after month, much food would be disposed of in large urns of coffee dumped down the sink, and all because the pastor was in denial about the reality of weekly attendance. They didn't even donate it to people who need it. Now, I don't know much about this Jesus fellow, but I feel like he might have something to say about that choice. Greater than large urns of coffee. Greater than they didn't even donate it to people who need it. There's tired children in factories in China who would love to have that coffee. Now drink it or no dessert. Quote, "Yeah, I wouldn't want the kids falling asleep when they assemble my iPhone." My stepbrother got into a weird Gnostic religious group and thought he could convert people by talking to them, harassing them, Socrates style, except without any ability to carry out a philosophical conversation. Also assuming workplace is a fine occasion to do this. When he'd get fired from his temp jobs, he'd assume it's a conspiracy and fight against enlightenment. This is more funny than diluted as a side note, but one of the group activities is to have to rewrite their religious book by hand, which he diligently did, and it wasn't a small book either. Turned out he used the wrong color ink, which for some reason invalidated the whole thing. Got a job in a restaurant as a waiter. Assumed for whatever unimaginable reason that the proper way to act for waiters is to bow after taking the order. When his supervisor asked him to stop, he lectured the supervisor on proper waitstaff manners. Wanted to propose to a 50-plus-year-old woman who has until then shown no signs of being interested in "Hi, monsieur." Luckily, he believed in the tradition to first ask father's permission, so he asked his dad, who talked him out of it. Had an idea to join the military to convert them from the inside. At one point believed the sun rays can sustain you, but luckily never really bothered to practice it. Is totally against capitalism and wants to live a free life as a wandering philosopher rather than live as a working drone like everyone else. However, does believe the working drones in his family should support his noble pursuit while also chastising them for selling out, and more. My parents paid for half the down payment on my house, pay for our landscaper, house cleaner, child daycare, car insurance, and give my wife and I a monthly allowance. We're completely self-sufficient human beings who even try and give other friends financial advice. Obviously written in the voice of someone I know. I worked on ships with a guy for years who thought every single person was out to get high, monsieur. I've never met anyone who had such a warped sense of reality. He would joke on with someone, then go away for the weekend and stew on one particular thing. Then come in on Monday absolutely raging over taking something the complete wrong way. I've seen him attack 2 people and heard about a third. Thing is, he's so dopey. Everyone thinks he's harmless, and that's just the way he is. A guy the first trained as an apprentice has just started on ships with him. Doesn't take anyone being a dick well at all. I think they'll do well together, haha. That sounds concerning. Is he in an okay mental space? I don't think he's ever been in an okay mental space. In college I had a roommate from the most sheltered part of Long Island. We met an exchange student from Switzerland, and I swear to God she said this in complete seriousness. "Oh wow, I didn't know people actually lived in Switzerland. I thought there were just banks there." Quote, "Most sheltered part of Long Island, I'm guessing the Hamptons." Ding ding ding. My friend suffered a psychotic break when we were teenagers. He'd been smoking weed constantly for a couple of weeks, not eating or sleeping, and I think he had some underlying mental health issues anyway, but that routine just sent him over the edge. Before his parents had him admitted to hospital, he came and met us before we were going out to a gig. He was wearing a pink silk pajama shirt and jogging bottoms and just looked very unwell. He was rambling on about the discoveries he was making and that he was going to meet some scientist in America. Then he laid on the pavement in the middle of the street and told us we all had to lie down to conserve the Earth's energy. That was about 15 years ago. He runs a successful business now. My parents' neighbor thought that her garden was too small for her sons to play in. So when she met my parents for the first time, the first thing she actually said was, "Can you give me some of your garden so my sons have more space to play in?" Quote. Thankfully my parents just said no. For context, they live in a very expensive neighborhood where houses cost on average from £750,000 to £1 million. The gardens in that neighborhood are a lot bigger on average than the majority of gardens in the UK. I've never heard a story of somebody being as painfully out of touch as that woman. Gotta be careful with people like that. They'll just keep asking for more and more. Like they say, give someone an inch and they'll take a yard. At the risk of giving an answer that's too real, my grandmother with Alzheimer's. We're in the stages now where it's basically a given that she's not aware of what's going on. She'll ask about people who aren't there, reference things that didn't happen, or get fuzzy because she's late for something that occurred years ago. Don't get me wrong, it's hard, but it's nowhere near as hard as it was a few years back. Now, it's easier to deal with entirely because it's easier to disregard what she's saying and we're all better practiced at it. A few years ago, when she didn't remember my name for the first time, or when she remembered that she should recognize me but was lucid enough to try and hide the fact she didn't recognize me, that was difficult. So now, it's safe to say that she's not terribly in touch with our modern settings. But she's still very friendly and I feel like I have a duty to make sure she's not lonely or scared. We went through this with my grandmother. You're right, it gets easier over the years. She was always off, so we didn't realize she was slipping at first. Back then some of the off-the-wall things she said were amusing because she was always off the wall. And then it wasn't funny. I have one younger sister. We are significantly younger than our cousins. She thought we were the same person, but she didn't remember me, even though I'm older. She also believed my mother, who is alive and well, was dead, but it was okay because she liked her son's new wife better. This was said to my mother. My last memory of her when she was well enough to talk was from when she turned 90. My well-meaning aunt got her a card with a milestone on it. And Grandma's response was, "What kind of sick fucking joke is this? I'm 43 and you assholes are making fun of me." She passed not too long after this. A small loan of $1 million. Any reference to Trump is just cheating. Every single obese person in my family and some friends, they complained how fat they were getting. Then I see them stuff their faces like every meal will be their last. That's fine. None of my business. Right? Nope. They make it my business by talking with me how to lose weight. My answer is simple. Put down the fork. They don't like that. They talk about their conditions. The only thing they haven't tried is to simply eat less. Calories in equals calories out. Let's just start there and stop the gluttony. Nope. They state they think they will die if they don't eat how they're used to eating. Completely unrealistic, but it's just so much easier to claim it's out of your control than actually take responsibility. Golfing on Memorial Day weekend when the country you are attempting to lead through a pandemic is grieving the loss of family and livelihoods. Throwing temper tantrums about wearing a mask when people are literally dying all around you. All these people that think that the coronavirus is a made-up disease or is being spread by 5G towers. My son got the flu shot and turned gay from it. I demand a compensation. Or, I have the coupon. It doesn't matter if it's expired. I have the coupon, so give me the flippin' discount. Quote, there's honestly no saving some people, it's actually atrocious. The coupon one was my monsieur. She got so bad that she'd photocopy coupons for things like JC Penney's, spend $100, get $20 back. had me crumple them up like newspaper. In her head this made sense. And when the store teller would call her out, she'd lose her shit in the store and then yell at me for not crumpling the fake coupons correctly. Bitch could have bought extra newspapers for $1 and had legitimate coupons, but no, that was too damn logical. And then I see the disinfectant where it knocks it out in a minute. 1 minute. And is there a way we can do something like that? By injection inside or almost a cleaning? So it'd be interesting to check that. Didn't he also tell us to swallow UV light bulbs to prevent and cure the virus? Complete head case. I swear. No, he did not. And eggs became really religious and I'd still talk to her sometimes. Somehow the topic of flat earth theories came up and she said she thinks it's actually possible that it could be true. I tried to explain that we have more than enough imagery and data indicating that the earth is round. And she said it could all be planted there by Satan. You just can't come up with a response to that. Greater than, and she said it could all be planted there by Satan. Tell her, hey, that sounds just like something Satan would say. Let me see your forehead. Quote, a high school friend of mine told me that the devil planted fossils for us to find in order to destroy our faith in creation. Chris Chan. C. 2009. Out of spite of a troller, Chris decides to Photoshop the troll's profile pic onto the Twins Towers. He then mocks the troll, telling him he will be hit by a plane like he did with the towers. Chris inevitably receives backlash. Now, here's the kicker. Chris decides that photoshopping the Twin Towers onto a birthday cake would be a genius apology. The saying, sorry to the troll. Chris Chan is the most out-of-touch person I've ever heard of. The people who harass Chris Chan are the most unempathetic people. Yeah, I never understood why it was literally okay to harass and try and interfere in this guy's life. They may not be a good person, but I don't think it warrants the amount of online abuse they got. Doesn't Chris Chan have a long history of harassing women sexually and insulting other people he sees as degenerate due to them being gay or non-white or whatever? Or am I thinking of someone else? My memory is that he's a legitimately terrible person who gets harassed by other terrible people. This and blatant homophobia. He gets so much shit online because he puts his shit out there in a public forum. And rightfully gets shit on for being a massive piece of fucking shit. A lot of the harassment he gets is over his sexual harassment and in some cases physical assault. It has never been about his Asperger's. Hell, there was one group of Asperger's sufferers that went out of their way to troll him because he was giving people with Asperger's a bad name because he's a huge piece of shit. I used to see him pop up from time to time. He had this character called Sonichu, which was a poorly drawn Sonic the Hedgehog, but with some Pikachu features incorporated. He made a video where he offered Sega the rights to the character in exchange for a list of demands, including a job with a six-figure salary where he retained creative control of the character. Thank you so much for watching and have a good day.